Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and a very cold or warm evening to Red and Blue Review. My name is Nick Philpott and I'm your host this evening. I'm shortly going to be joined by a panel of absolute experts and very tired experts as well because they've been travelling the country. Not him, okay, that's Joe. I think he's travelled from his living room to his kitchen. Hello, Joe, you all right,
mate? Yeah, I'm all right, mate. You?
I'm all right, buddy. I'm all right. And welcome, Ian Noble. How are you, sir?
Good evening, Nick. Good evening, everyone joining us in the chat. Yeah, I am knackered, mate. I really am. I'm really tired.
Yeah, and I'm coming to that in a second. Paul Gear, I hope you're well, buddy. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Same as Ian. We had a long trip yesterday and back again today. So, yeah, it was a night in Doncaster.
Get on with it. Stop your whining. Get on with it, the pair of you. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, before we get into the show at all, and I'll start talking to those two about their long trip yesterday, I must apologise for a division of me because I'm doing it off another device this evening as I'm having a little bit of laptop issues. The technology has been held together with an elastic band and 2 cups this evening, and that's how we're broadcasting to you. So forgive this. If things do drop out during the show, thank you for watching and good night, okay? But apart from that, we're going to crack on and try as best we can. Right. First of all, so Palce played Doncaster in the 4th round of the FA Cup last night, as I'm sure most of us saw on the telly. Okay, I need to address something before we get any further, and to send out my huge congratulations to each and every person that travelled last night. Paul, off the top of your head, how many fans did we have there?
We sold just over 2,000 in the end, I think.
Right, okay. And I understand there was no trains back from Doncaster at all. Is that correct?
No, I think there was one at 10:45, but it was one you'd take a big risk because if it had gone to extra time penalties, you wouldn't have done that. And it's quite away from the station as well. So I think there was an option, but it was not a pleasant option.
And Ian, how was the trip back for you?
Yeah, trip back was okay today, but like Paul said, it wasn't a serious option to come back last night, I don't think, by public transport, because if it had gone to extra time and penalties, we couldn't have seen the end of the game. And it was a bit of a slap to get back to the station from the ground. So we chose to stay over. We had a half decent hotel and nice big breakfast. Paul Gear is the master at getting value for money from a hotel breakfast. I tell you, you want to see his plate this morning. We should have put a photo on the pod, but we haven't done that. But it is a massive plate of food.
I don't know why I got this vision of you and Paul sharing a bed last night.
Well, we didn't. We did separate rooms, mate. It's quite easy.
I just got this vision. I hope I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Anyway, listen, for those of you who made the effort last night, I thought you did really well. I understand there was a bit of a protest in the stand from our black-clad friends. Did any of you see? Could you actually see that from inside the stands?
Well, at half-time, I went and asked one of them what he said, because we couldn't see it. We were like behind it, to the left of looking at that picture. We were to the left of it, further back. So we knew there was a banner going up. We could see the banner. We couldn't see what it said. So one of the guys told me in monosyllabic terms. So I shouldn't say that, should I? Anyway, he did. But yeah, basically they were protesting the fact that it was a Monday night game and it was a long way away and it was done for TV. And all the social media sites like Away Day fans were all backing it, saying well done Palce for protesting in the way they did. So something nothing really.
Yeah, it's something nothing, but I mean, I think there is something to be said there with reference to the TV. I mean, Doncaster had an opportunity to have a large share of funds, and it was moved behind the red button. And my understanding is, instead of getting a decent payout, okay, they got a pittance for it going beyond the red button. Paul, am I right in what I've just said?
Yeah, I think if you're on TV, you get 60 grand, but if you're just on the iPlayer, you get 40 grand. So, I mean, they were concerned at the start because they didn't think they'd sell out. They didn't think we'd sell out. I mean, ultimately, the game pretty much nearly did sell out. So, it worked out in the end, but it was, yeah, I mean, moving game. It's one thing moving a game to a Monday night for national television. It's the done thing, sadly. But to move it just for internet coverage was a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, peculiar. Joe, you and I were watching it on TV on the BBC, but behind the red button initially, okay. And during the game, we were messaging each other a lot, okay. I understand something was grating you a little
Wow.
bit. Tell me what was grating you.
Exeter 1-0 up against Nottingham Forest. Wow.
Oh, hang on.
Is it 15 changes by Forest, though?
Don't know. Haven't seen their lineup, but
yeah,
it'd be funny if they went out, wouldn't it, as well?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, we watched it, on iPlayer, and but from the start, he just, the guy introducing it was crap. It's supposed to be the BBC, right? But he was rubbish.
Yeah.
But he wasn't as rubbish as the other female presenter. Who was a goalkeeper 10 years ago, apparently. I think she must live 300 yards on the ground because, she said she was local and they've chosen her for that. And then they put her on comms. And to be honest with you, the two of them, I've complained about this like last week, maybe the week before, about commentators not doing their due diligence on Palce. We're a bloody Premier League team for 12 years. You know what I mean? We're established. We don't get half the kudos that we should get. The amount of mistakes that they made. I mean, they caught one of our players, and the American international Max Meyer. I mean, did Max leave 5 years ago? Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's bordering on, I'm not even going to say incompetent, because a kid would have got that right. I would have preferred, you hear about these competitions, to be the next commentator on the BBC or forever, right? And they have some of these 14, 15. I would have preferred two of them. Seriously. I said to you, Nick, didn't I? I would say after 60 minutes, they drove me so mad that I turned the comms off. I muted it. Couldn't listen anymore. It's pathetic, absolutely pathetic. They run out of ideas, and from the 60 minutes that they were on, they were. I know this is going to sound, and I'm going to preempt everything you're going to say, but they turned around and said that we were under the cosh. At no time in 96 minutes were we under the cosh. They had two shots. They were at home. Just crap.
Right. No, come to Ian first and then Paul.
Yeah, so Danny Hudders, I think you've got it spot on, mate. In the chat and the comments, he said, I watched it on the iPlayer, turned the commentary off, and had the 5 live commentary on alongside it. So that was the thing to have done last night if you weren't in the ground.
Yeah,
but I totally get your frustration, Jell, and your rant there, because it is inexcusable that the BBC, iPlayer or no iPlayer, get some facts that were so very, very wrong. Like, this is Devaney's first goal for Crystal Palace, where patently it wasn't his first goal for Crystal Palace. So things like that shouldn't be, they shouldn't be getting those things like that wrong. Basic facts.
Paul.
Well, everyone on the show here knows what I'm like. I'm a stato. I live by the stats. So I can't stand not just Palace. The standard of commentary these days is appalling, and the standard of facts they come out with is terrible. I mean, I'm not a fan of most of our clubs, but I can pick up errors they make with other clubs regularly and all this sort of stuff. I think also they are desperately trying to big up the competition. I was watching the Plymouth-Liverpool game the other day, and Sam Matterface, who's a buffoon at the best of times, the amount of times he said this is the biggest shock known to man, when really, if you saw the Liverpool lineup, it was not a shock at all. It was pretty put on the cards almost. But even Karen Carney before the game said Liverpool were the most important club in Europe, and they blow smoke up the arses of so many clubs, and the others are just also rans. They don't give a damn, so they don't care if they get it all wrong. But yeah, commentary and punditry these days is can really be done without. I've given up with it now. I just turn the game on TV when it starts after. I can't be bothered listening to these idiots. They get it all wrong anyway.
And the comment on Max Meyer, by the way, they were referring back to the last time we played Doncaster. Max Meyer scored, but yes, you're right, quite right, Jill. They referred to them as the American international Max Meyer. It beggars belief. It beggars belief. Does anybody who actually want to cover the game? Ian, Paul?
Well, look, I mean, it wasn't the most exciting game to watch. It really wasn't. And I can't remember celebrating a goal quite as what's the right expression? I didn't
unenthusiastically.
Unenthusiastically. I didn't celebrate the goal. I just went, yep, We're 1-0 up. Because from the away end, we couldn't really see too clearly what happened. Well, at least I couldn't anyway. So, the Kamada free kick, one off the training rounds, nicely worked. And I think one of the players sort of took a defender away, giving Mateta some space to swivel and get his shot away. They hit the post, beat the keeper easily, bounced back off the post, hit a Doncaster player before falling very nicely for Danny Munoz in the 6-yard box, open goal he couldn't miss. So that's minutes, the most notable thing to happen. I should say as well, before that, again, I didn't see this in the ground particularly. Munoz had a challenge on one of their players. He had a poor touch, lost possession, and he lunged in. He caught the lad on the top of his boot, and he wasn't even booked for it.
Yeah. Can we talk about that, Ian?
But I don't think so.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about that because Joe and I had an interchange last night, okay, and I've been reading social media today. Joe was adamant that it wasn't a red card, yellow at best is what he came back to me on. If you read the socials, and there's a lot of it about that challenge last night, okay, I think on another given day, that would have been a red card. Joe, you first and then Paul.
Look, you could see it was a poor touch, but maybe in the Premier League, where if it was Bruno Fernandes, would have died for 3 minutes and the referee would have, thought about it. Well, no, he would have thought about it for about 3 seconds because we're a Palace player to flash a red. But listen, you can't, if there was no maliciousness, it was a yellow. It was a yellow at best. And then you saw Billy Sharp did Tyrick Mitchell, which forced him off at half time. That was a yellow card. But the referee, I don't think there was a card dish last night. It wasn't that kind of game. I think the referee, for once, had a half-decent game. Any other, if it was the short, bald fella out of the Premier League, there'd have been players sent off all over the place last night. But, it was a low-level, unexciting game that was... And I'm not going to say it was highly competitive because it wasn't, but it was competitive. That's it. Competitive at our lowest level, and they're at their highest, which is why they're 3 divisions. But yeah, again, they need something to scream about, these commentators. And had it been the other way, I still would have said it was a yellow.
Well, let me ask Paul a question. We are big enough to go with the big team bias, Paul. Are we a bunch of hypocrites, or should he just let that go last night? Because I reckon if that was the other way around, that would have been a red. I would have been.
I haven't seen it back. I mean, as I say, we saw it at the time. I didn't think it was a very good challenge on the basis that we were more perplexed why he wasn't just playing. He didn't carry on because the guy was off the pitch and getting treatment. And we're like, well, if he's off the pitch, he can carry on. So the fact that they stopped and were looking at him, I thought he'd obviously been hurt. And obviously, it's one of those where the players lost the ball. So I haven't seen it back, so I can't comment. It's one of those. VAR would have slowed it down and probably would have sent him off because once they slow something down, it looks worse, blah, blah, blah. But it brings into the question, obviously, whether it's been a good thing that VAR has been in the cup or not this round. It's very, very refreshing being in a ground when there's no VAR. Obviously, you saw from Man United's goal the other night, you do get injustices, which is why VAR is there. But it's nice not to have to worry about all that. But yes, having not seen it back, I can't really comment on it. But yeah, there was a comment. The first I really knew it was a bad tackle was when I saw a comment on Twitter at the end of the game from BBC saying that the Doncaster fans are upset Munoz scored the goal when he might not have been on the pitch. So, but yeah, having not seen it, I can't really comment. So,
and Stephen Dyer makes a good point there. There was a similar sort of tackle on Laquara later on in the game, and no card was issued for that. Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen it back, and I think it was 100% a yellow card. I can't believe the referee hasn't booked him for that. And if it had been the other way around, I would have been really quite annoyed that the Doncaster player wasn't booked. But on another day, as we've already said, you could have seen a red card given for that challenge, especially if they slowed it down, especially if
Forest
they
equalised
and looked at it. Have they?
Okay. Forest
have
just equalised for those interested, so this is absolutely live. 14th
minute. So coming back to this challenge, Danny Munoz, a bit of a lucky boy, really. But yeah, surprised. I think the referee went from the sublime to the ridiculous yesterday, Joe. If I'm honest with you, he should have booked some players. He let too much go. Yeah,
I agree.
But he was consistent. He was consistent, and that's all you can ask for. If he treats both teams the same, you can't argue.
The thing is, just quickly, referees. I think there's going to be a directive, or there might be directives told to referees that you can't listen to a scream anymore. You need to see, if you see without being told in your ear that it's bad, or without being told by, because you have got another 2 referees, with you, 3 referees. You've got the guy in the middle. You got linos that acts as referees. You can get help, and the fact is that it was. I didn't think it was a red card game. All right, there were a couple of 2 or 3 challenges that were bad. 2 on ours, 1 on theirs, and that was it. Really. But again, it's the media. They need to sensationalise a game that really had nothing.
Okay, Ian, carry on, mate.
No, I'm done. Paul, I think wanted to come in.
Yeah, no, just on that. That's my only sympathy with referees these days. There's just players these days. They've made it an art form. They go down like they've been shot. The screaming, it's pathetic, and you don't give a referee a chance. It's a bit like last week at Man United when Sarr got past Martinez, and Martinez went down like he'd been shot. I mean, ultimately he did do his ACL, but Sarr didn't touch him, and just his reaction basically got the free kick given. And this is the only thing with refs. And the good thing about last night was because there's no VAR, there's no point rolling around because they know it's not going to get checked. So if they go down, get up again. It's how it should be.
I have an idea about this, about fouls and stuff. If you're down for, literally, we need to speed the game up. There's far too much time being wasted, especially in the Premier League. And I think that most things now should be put on the clock. If you're injured, you're going to stay down. You need treatment. You go off the pitch. You're then kept off the pitch for an amount of time, right? Regardless. You can't just join back in if you are genuinely injured and have to go off. But what you can do, Arsenal have got this down to an absolute art form, is the screen, they go down, have a little look, player gets a card, then they get back up. Right? Honestly, it's an ingenious form of cheating. But the thing is, if you stay down longer than 15 seconds, someone could be there, put them on the clock, you're genuinely injured, then you will get treatment. You can go off. Right? But if you're not, and you want to milk it, card, start dishing cards for time wasting, for cheating. And the other thing as well, use VAR, use the cameras, because there's yellow cards being dished out, and referees are getting mugged. Where the players, they're not even getting touched. They're not even getting touched, and yet the players are going down screaming when they haven't been touched. I'm amazed that there's not people rearing up trying to fight other players for blatant cheating. Oh.
We've got to be careful though. We're not innocent in this. I remember Mateta last week went down like he'd been shot, got Maguire booked, and then got up and started waving his arms to the crowd. Which
I get it. But what I'm saying is,
they get away with it, so they're going to do it. The refs have got to be strong. They've got to be strong and say off for 2 minutes. Then stop it. Stop it instantly.
But we never did it. We never did it as a team. We've never done that as a team. But we're having to play the game now.
Yeah.
One thing about that challenge last night on that Doncaster boy by Munoz, Paul, you mentioned it earlier. He rolled off the pitch. He did roll actually, and he rolled off the pitch. Now it wasn't a head injury. And he's off the pitch. So I was saying, why haven't they started the game? Now, that would have been quite harsh on them. So in the spirit of the game, the referee stops the game, lets him get treatment. But really, should he not have played on at that stage? I would have thought that would have been the most sensible thing to do.
I wanted to touch on a couple of on his team selection last night. I know we've probably really covered the game, really. But Nigel, can you just pop up the team selection for us? Boys, I have a question for you because I'm a bit bemused. Can somebody explain to me? So there's your lineup. There's your starting lineup. Turner, Munoz, Richards, Lacroix, Gehi, Mitchell, Warton, which I'm going to come on to in a minute. Hughes, Devenida, I'm going to be talking about it. The inconspicuous Kamada and Mateta. Boys, why did we play 3 goalkeepers last night? Why did we have 2 goalkeepers on the bench? Can anybody enlighten me, please?
Well, I'll tell you why. I can tell you why. Henderson was the backup. You know, he wasn't expected to be used, really. Turner gets selected, gets his minutes. And I think it was Remy Matthews' birthday yesterday. So maybe because it was his birthday, he gave him a place on the bench. You've seen it happen before in the Premier League. Players, teams put 2 goalkeepers on the bench. So it's not that unusual. It really isn't.
I get the sentiment, but I mean, it can't be just for his birthday because I know it says, I'd have rather took an under 18 and stuck him on the bench just for a bit of FA Cup experience. That's what I would have rather done, and give the birthday boy the night off.
So it's my birthday on April the 19th. Do I get to host Talk Sport then on the 19th of April? So?
You can try.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with his birthday. But if you've got a spare spot on the bench, just you put him on there because it's unlikely. I think I've seen it once in my life where a team has had to use 2 substitute goalies. So it's not going to happen. But if it did, you'd be like, well, I had a spare space on the bench. You could have taken it. And it's just filling the bench up. Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all it is, Nick. Don't read too much. Don't overthink it, mate. I think it's
okay. Well, the other thing I was overthinking, and delightfully so, was it great to see Adam back in the squad, in the starting lineup. And how did he play, boys, at first hand, please?
Very good. Very good. I think he took a little bit of time to get into it, but he was almost back to his best. What I like about Adam Warton is that he gets the ball, even when he's facing our goalkeeper, and he gets the ball. He hardly ever goes backwards. He always looks to turn and go forward. And he got 60 minutes yesterday. The plan was that he was going to get the first half only, but because he was feeling pretty good at half time, Glasner gave him another 15 minutes. But I was pleased to see him go off after the hour because his minutes need managing. We need to be careful with him, but he is a player, guys. You know, he can make the difference now between us finishing sort of bottom half or pushing onto the top half of the table and having a great cup run.
And the other thing I've got to say to that is the other thing I really enjoyed, he looked genuinely pissed off when Glasner did take him off. He was very disappointed. That just shows you the bloke's got heart. Joe.
Well, he was second best player on the pitch last night, and he ain't played for ages. So, you know, the thing is, what he, like you say, that turn where he had a player left, player right of him, and he just turned and left them both standing. You know, I know they're League Two players, but he would have done that to Premier League players. So, but he just has that ability to pass, see a pass, and you know, I just thought he was very good. He's what we probably
we had a conversation on the podcast a couple of weeks ago about when they're all back, the defensive midfielders, who will be first choice. I think we would all agree that Adam Warton would be one of the first names on the team sheet, and it'll be Lerma and Hughes sharing the minutes. Probably with Hughes first choice, actually. Yeah. He had a very good game yesterday as well. He won the ball. I mean, coming on to let's talk about the second goal, shall we now? Because, you know, let's move this on a bit. 55 minutes. They play it out, Doncaster. He cuts the ball out. He wins a tackle. He looks up. He takes the ball forward, and he plays the most delicious lob over the top. It really was a perfect ball for Devaney to run onto. And the boy kept his composure and lobbed the goalkeeper for 2-0 right in front of us. And if I didn't celebrate the first goal, I definitely celebrated this one because it was a goal to grace any game, top draw. It really was. And I know it was against League Two opposition, but it was a very, very good goal, well taken, well worked, and gave us that bit of breathing space. And interestingly, just before then, Devaney had missed arguably a much easier chance where Mateta had got down the right wing, crossed it into the box, and all he had to do was side foot it in, but he missed his footing, and he was a bit annoyed with himself.
It's mad that about our players miss an open goal or miss from a yard and then score with a great lob over the goalkeeper from 12 yards or whatever. It's from the ridiculous to the sublime.
Absolutely, was.
100%.
Keep going.
Yeah, so that's 2-0. There wasn't a huge amount more to say, really. Doncaster huffed and puffed towards the end. I was pleased for the breathing space for the 2 goals. Probably their best chance came, I don't know, on about the 85th minute or something, and the guy looks up, he's on the edge of the penalty area, I think left foot, and he curls it just over the bar. Pretty good, decent effort on goal, but just over. And then there was another one towards the end where Turner had to get down smartly to his right-hand side in the centre of the goal to save it. We didn't exactly play well after we were 2-0 up. Obviously, we made our changes. Young SA came on, so it was good to see him get some minutes. And then at the end, we had Kapora on the pitch for Munoz, and France that came on for about 2 minutes. Little cameo at the end, Paul.
Obviously, Chilwell came on at half time as well, so he made his debut. I struggle to judge players against players of the standard of Doncaster. I would expect all of our players to look competent last night, and I thought he came on and he looked competent. He looked good. He did a few nice passes around. As I said last week, it'll be interesting to see what happens when they're both ready to go, and whether he'll pick Tyrick or Ben, or he'll just swap them around. Who knows? We did a poll, didn't we, Ian, on the chat to see, which is quite interesting. So I'd be interested to see where that goes. But obviously, he's still going to have another 3 or 4 games, I'd have thought, where he's eased in a bit, Ben Chilwell. He's played like half an hour all season. So
yeah,
I was
going to ask you, Paul, I was going to ask you about that. From the TV point of view, if I'm being brutally honest, and I will never slag a playoff playing in red and blue, I thought Ben Chilwell looked pretty rusty, if I'm honest here. A few misplaced passes. He looks he looks as though he's a little bit carrying, maybe a bit, hang on, Jill, a bit of timber. I didn't think, my concern was, why did he come on? Jill and I were talking about it privately. We know that Tyrick got a knock in the first half. Let's just hope he's not injured. Jill first, then on to Ian.
The last competitive game that he had was playing for England, where he ironically took Mitchell's place, because Mitchell played the game before for England, and then Chilwell come back. He played for Belgium, or played against Belgium at Wembley. That was 11 months ago. So you can't. Maybe it was a little bit too early. I don't know whether it's too early. I thought he looks all right. I mean, he'll get into our style of playing, but they said about the commentary team, where they turned around and said that there was a run that he should have made, where he should have been on the end of it, on the end of a Munoz cross. Yeah. I was like, but anyway, yeah.
You're right. You're right to say he hasn't played a lot of minutes. I think he did have a game for Chelsea in the Conference League earlier this season, so he has played this season. But you're not wrong either, Nick. He is rusty because he hasn't played much football recently at all. I thought he looked good, actually. I'm glad you mentioned him, Paul. I forgot that he didn't come on at half time. I don't know, but he did, and he looked. He was getting into forward positions that Tyrick Mitchell wouldn't have got into. He was making runs, and he was short. He was off the pace a bit, but you could see that he's a good footballer. You could see that, and so he should be for the amount of money he earns. There's no doubt about that. A week ago, I'd forgotten about this. Paul, you reminded me, and I'm just going to mention this now. A week ago on our Twitter, on our X, I put a question up, and I said, we signed Chilwell. Who will we start now in the Premier League, Tyrick Mitchell or Ben Chilwell? We had 404 votes on this poll, and 2/3 said Tyrick Mitchell and 1/3 said Ben Chilwell. So Tyrick gets the vote, and I think it'll be extremely harsh on Tyrick Mitchell not to be first choice. But one thing is for sure, he's played too much football. He hasn't had enough rest in between games, and so it's great to have Chilwell there as an option.
I quite agree. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, the whole debate is quite an interesting one. I mean, Chilwell has obviously been brought in because he's more of a wing-back. By definition, he will be further up the pitch probably than Tyrick would be. But by the same definition, that means he'll be leaving more gaps at the back than Tyrick would. So it's pros and cons, and maybe they'll be picked horses for courses for the right games and stuff. As I said to you, Ian, last night, as we said, No one's got. I don't think I've been quite critical of the signing. No one's got an issue with Ben Chilwell as a player. I think he's been a good player for England. He's been a good player for Chelsea. He's won the Champions League. He can't be a bad player. I think the problem for me is I'm not a big fan of loans anyway. We're putting a hell of probably £2 million investment into someone for 14 games when we could probably put that into a permanent signing. And again, he's not played much, so we've got to ease him in. By the time he's fully up to speed, we'll only have 10 games left. So it's good cover and all this sort of stuff. And as I say, he's an international player, so he'll do a job. But whether we want to be sort of investing time and money in a player who's going to be gone at the end of May, I'm not sure.
Joe, I want to talk about something else. You carry on, mate.
Well, it might just be a good. I know it sounds, the politics and stuff behind the scenes, but it might be a goodwill gesture to Chelsea after what they did. We don't know how much of his wages that we're paying, but again, it's all conjecture. But I still feel that we still have a relationship with Chelsea. Enough for us to take one of their loan players, and I think that will definitely have an impact in the close season when we get Trevor Chalobah back. I sincerely hope we get him back because I think he's good for us. And I got a feeling a little bit of politics, but also an England international wing back probably could have gone to a slightly better team than us, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing us a disservice.
Yeah,
but he's certainly a decent player, and on his day, he will be good for us. But like as Paul said, in a different capacity, whereas he's more forward and will leave gaps at the back, but Tyrick is less forward and is almost always at the back. So he's always there when you need him.
Mitchell at the back. Is the end attack? Palce on the way to Wembley. They got an airing last night. Don't forget, Mark Callaghan said in the chat, we need another central defender. Yes, we do, Mark. But Tyrick Mitchell could play left-sided centre-back, I think. I think Chilwell could play there as well. So I think what Chilwell gives us is options in terms of cover at centre-back as well.
Right. Drawing a line on the game. Palace win 2-0 in the fourth round of the FA Cup. We're going to cover the fifth round in detail in a minute, okay? I want to talk to you, gentlemen, if you don't mind. Just spend 5 minutes, if you don't mind, on what the hell have we got here with our manager, okay? Now, I'm going to explain to you what I'm talking about. Chris Richards, massively improved, reliable, never puts a foot wrong, good player. Maxence Lacroix, outstanding. Mark Gee, the job. Look at what, I know he wasn't Glasner signing, but Danny Munoz, outstanding right wing back. Adam Warton, we know what we got there. We know that it's the golden egg there. Hang on, I want to just Will Hughes, probably the most improved player this season under Glasner. Tyrick, we just covered. Justin DeBenny, okay, we know we've got a decent one there, definitely one for the future. And JP Mateta. What is it our manager, Mr. Glasner, is doing to that squad, okay? Because I think we have a talented bunch of players. Anybody first? I don't mind who goes first.
All right. So what you see in Glasner is very little ego. You can see that he has a great staff, a really good staff who have a good rapport with our players. If you watch the training videos, they're all involved. What he's not tried to do is come in and force out the core of the backroom staff. Paddy's still there. We've still got our goalkeeping coach, even though he is Charlton through and through. But he's kept those people behind. What you hear about is a lot of managers coming in. They've got an entire team and they clear the whole club out. So that there's no interference, there's no favouritism, there's no, if he wants to hear a rumour or he wants to hear complaints, it's got to come. The players have got to go to one of his team instead of passing the buck onto someone else. I really like the fact that there's no airs and graces. He's a fantastic speaker. He's very coordinated in everything he does. I mean, you would say he's almost. I know he's Austrian, but he's got that German efficiency. He has got that European efficiency. He is so focused on what he's doing, and he doesn't. I can imagine behind closed doors. I can imagine he is quite fierce because we've been told we got a bollocking at half time. A couple of the players have come out and said that, but what he does, I don't think any of our other managers have ever done this. He's got videos out at half time and said, "This is what you did wrong. If you do this differently, this is how we will improve." The whole club has been lifted levels by this guy and his team, and I think again, once you have got the manager on side and the backroom team on side, your team spirit lifts, and then you're also keeping players as a group together. You used to see players getting a raging up now. Now they've just got a little bit of dissatisfaction. Everyone wants to play, but he rotates. He uses 4 or 5 subs. I just like everything about him. And the real sad part about it, the only sad part about it is that there are other teams out there that just go through managers like that, really do. And sometimes money will come calling, and it's only natural to be able to want to improve your financial lifestyle. That's the only thing that worries me.
You raised a really good point, because my next question to the boys was going to be, now this guy is a talent, clearly. He's highly ambitious, is the point you were trying to make there. Are we at risk at all, Ian or Paul? Are we at risk because he's so ambitious?
I don't think we're at risk immediately. Certainly not this season or even next season. If we continue to do well, and he's enjoying what he does. We've already said that he's a humble guy. That he's level-headed, and he's not full of ego. And so that's not the kind of person that wants to jump ship at the first bigger paycheck that he's offered. So he might move on to a bigger club at some point in his career, and there's nothing wrong with that, showing ambition. He might go and manage a nation or two, and I wouldn't put that past him. He reminds me a little bit of Sven-Göran Eriksson, in the way sort of calm, cool, collected sort of manager. God rest his soul. So, everyone likes Glasner. Funny enough, Nick, only about 3 weeks ago, you were saying get rid of him, or you were suggesting.
No, I never said that. I never said
something along those lines.
Correction. What I was discussing was, good point, Joe. What I was actually discussing was the fact that he hadn't been supported in the transfer window. Are we at risk of losing him?
Yeah,
because he's got history with Wolfsburg, where he walked out because he wasn't supported. Paul.
Yeah, I think he's an excellent football manager, and he's also an excellent man manager. I think he's got the squad together. I think we'd obviously been talking to him for a few months before he joined anyway. So I think Munoz and Warton, I'm sure he would have had a say in those signings. So I'm pretty sure that he was aware of those. But ironically, I think this next week will be 1 year since he's come. And if you think of the difference in the attitude of the club, from this time last year, we were all on death's door thinking, when can Hodgson please go? And we'd had the banners and all sorts of stuff. What he's done in a year, what he's done to this club in a year is, as I say, is sensational, really. You look at some of the results we've got, some of the runs we've gone on. We've had a bad spell at the start of this season. There's reasons for that, which he's pinpointed and highlighted. And as I say, really, we look a very good footballing team now. And as I say, you can't really speak highly enough of him at the moment, to be honest.
Just to show that we are live, before I come to you, Jill, 39 minutes gone. It's now Exeter 1, Forest 2. Jill.
Didn't Parish put an exorbitant amount of money on his head when did Bayern come calling for him?
Yeah, they did.
Parish said, "Give us 100 million, you can have him," and they went, "Oh no." So, but yeah, so they're straight away. Parish has shown huge faith in him. Even, it is a big amount of money, but listen, like I say, the club, we've all moved up a notch, and our chins are up and everything's going good. And what I really, really admire him for is that not many of our managers, even with the start we had, not many of our managers would have put out strong teams in the cup competitions. And he wants to win one. I think he's won a European competition. The guy wants to win. Like he said, I think he went at Old Trafford. They said, "Oh, it's your first win here at Old Trafford," and he went, "No." Did he go there with Wolfsburg? And and win, whoever he was with. He won in a European competition at Old Trafford. He said, but this is my first league win. So, he'd been there twice and won twice, which is pretty decent stats.
Okay, then, follow-up question to you all. We love Sir Steve. Okay, Sir Steve on this podcast, he's a friend of the show. Hypothetically, Oliver Glasner wins this year's FA Cup. How do we compare the two? Ian?
Yeah, you've got to say that Glasner's the better manager because he's won something. But Steve Coppell was there for longevity, wasn't he? He was in charge 4 different occasions. So it's like comparing chalk and cheese in some ways. They're very different at the moment. You can't compare them really, I don't think.
Paul?
No, it's 2 different times in football and 2 different scenarios and all sorts of stuff. I think different yardsticks, as Ian says. Any manager who wins a trophy for Crystal Palace will be the best manager they've ever had. Let's be honest, because we're all desperate to win a trophy. But it's he's certainly up there. And as I say, it's not like we feel like we're plateauing. With this team, there's more growing in this team. This is the thing. They're still young. There's still potential in it. And if he can get them doing this on a consistent basis, then really, we should be looking at sort of top 10 regularly, and then that would give him the ambition, hopefully, to stay and us to push on.
Thank you.
If Glasner had a right and bright, Christ, I'd say we'd be pushing top 6.
See, now you're
Hang on.
4-4-2. You've been whingy for the last 5 years that you want to play 3 at the back. Now you're whingy because we haven't got 4-4-2.
No, you played 3-5-2. What are you talking about?
Moving on to Loan Watch.
Guys, you could argue we've got a right and bright. We've got Mateta and Sarr. They can play up top together. And then Eze as well. We've got 3 of them instead of 2. So,
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned Ismaili Sarr because out that list of very improved players this year, Sarr's got to be right up there. John Knox asked the question a minute ago, guys in the chat. When we lose Mark Geehee in the summer, does Lacroix become our captain? My immediate response to that would be no. Will Hughes. Your thoughts?
I think it's always good to have a captain at centre back, and I think maybe Lacroix. Well, Lacroix is a very good shout, I think, for captain. Yeah.
Will Hughes has. I think he's had the armband once this season, hasn't he? I think. But that's another thing we maybe talk about. But I'm still bemused by the lack of talk of contracts for Will Hughes and Tyreek Mitchell and all these supposed. I'm not sure what the club are playing at. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, I've been saying.
We did this last week. Tyreek Mitchell has extended till 2027.
Yeah, that's what
it's done. Go on, Joe. Quickly.
Well, again, I was just about to say, me and you have had this conversation loads of times because I'm, flicking through social media and looking at Palace accounts, and they're arguing with other Palace fans. We need to get rid of him, or we need to tie him down. And I'm like, well, he's signed, and they're like, so you tell me where he's signed, and I'm like, do you know what? I can't be doing this. So I kept saying to you, Nick, there's no concrete evidence anywhere that turns around and says that Mitchell is with the club till 2027. Only I haven't seen it. If it had been signed, it would be out there, and it isn't.
And hasn't been announced by the club. Yeah, Paul. I'm going to move on.
It is all rumour that he's signed. I mean, it's been a rumour for a long time. But as you say, it would have a bit more credibility if we didn't have other players who were sort of sat there twiddling their thumbs waiting for offers like Hughes. But it would be nice to know and get him signed up.
He doesn't deserve, after the last 2 years, he doesn't deserve to be kept waiting. He should be offered a new. He's a baller. I don't care what anyone says. I rave about him. He's brilliant. I like, with him, Devaney, and just a lot of our more industrious players. I like Hughes. He just kicks people, and he's a baller. So
right.
It's the only one that does.
I'm going to move this on. We're down to our last quarter now. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't subscribed to our Instagram account, please do so. Thomas Clark Samuel does loads of work on there. He was telling me just this evening how the account is really alive and kicking. So if you're on Instagram, whatever you do, like, share or follow red_and_blue_review. Give him some support, give him some love. Tell him Nick sent you. Thank you very much, Nigel. We're going to move on to our results from other teams since our last show. The under-21s on Monday the 10th. Premier League 2, Division 1, Clayton Wood beat our under-21s, beat Stoke City under-21s 2-1. Our under-18s at the Palace training ground on Saturday the 8th. This is the Premier League. As I say, at the training ground, Palce 0-0 with Reading under 18s. And the ladies, the BBS Community Centre in Sutton, played Newcastle United and ran out very credible 2-0 winners in the Cup. And my understanding is they have been drawn against Chelsea, the top team in that division, in the next round of the Cup. I don't know whether that's home or away. Talking about next round of the Cups, Nigel. Talking about next round of the Cups, the fifth round draw took place last night. Much to the amusement, and the entertainment of these two fellas sitting at the bottom of your screen. So, Ian, so we get drawn at home tie against the small club in South London. Paul, you wanted to make a comment about that? What happened last night?
It was actually the biggest cheer of the night, the cup draw. To be honest, it was. We were all crowded around the one screen. There was just one screen in the concourse, and everyone who could get to see it had got to see it. There were so many people filming. There's so many versions of that on Twitter. But yeah, we came out and we got the home draw, and everyone was just. When Millwall came out, as you saw, and then obviously the Millwall anti-Millwall songs came out straight after that. But it was brilliant, as I say. I mean, I'm just pleased we're at home. I mean, I was dreading a trip to Millwall. We did it a few years ago. So to get them at home, it should be a big match, to be honest.
So there's the draw for you: Preston, Burnley, Villa versus Cardiff, Palace versus Millwall, Man United, Fulham. So at least one other Premier League casualty there: Newcastle, Brighton, and another one there. Bournemouth, Wolves, another one there. Man City versus Plymouth, and the winner of the Exeter Forest game, and it is still 2-1, will play Ipswich. So you then argue there's another Premier League casualty there. Is the door opening up? I know Man City is still there, Man United is still there. Is there opportunities there, gentlemen?
Very definitely. I asked Nigel to put that up. Let's have another look at it, Nigel, if we can, because I think it's a great draw. We've avoided another Premier League team, which is fantastic. We're at home. I know you could argue that our away form is better at the moment, but as Paul said, it's much better to be at home to Millwall than away to them. When Villa were drawn out, they were going, oh no, and there was fear we might get Villa away, and that Cardiff. Oh, thank goodness for that. So there was genuine interest in that draw. 4 all Premier League ties, so that's another 4 Premier League teams gone. I think all those teams left, only Fulham and Forest have beaten us this season. We've drawn games against other teams. We've proved that we can compete against any of those sides, including Manchester City, who are 2-1 favourites for the Cup. And by the way, we're 20-1 according to the bookies. Simon Prong has said 12-1. We're 20s, I've seen. And we're only 8th or 9th favourites, which I find amazing. Even Brighton and Fulham are shorter than we are. So get your money on Palace to win the Cup. I think I've got a really good feeling about this Cup run.
Okay, and on the subject of the Cup, Paul, it must be the absolute nightmare for the Metropolitan Police. Would you not think? They must have been sitting there thinking, oh my Jesus Christ. First of all, you're pretty good at this. When will the game be played, do you think? I know it's the week of the 1st of March, I get that. But when do you think the game will be played? And how many do you think allocation they'll give to Millwall?
Well, last time we played them, and I think police advice, I think it'll be a noon kickoff on the Saturday or the Sunday. Because, I think all the matches in this round are on TV anyway, so they're all going to be moved. There'll be no 3:00 Saturdays or anything, so they'll all be at strange times. I think they won't want drink or anything like that. So we'll be at probably the lunchtime Sunday or Saturday game. In terms of the rules, they technically, unless the police intervene, which they may, we have to give them 25% of the ground. So they'll probably get the max we'd normally give them is sort of like $4.5 which is pretty much half the Arthur weight. There'll be a block netted off for some cover. So there'll be a lot of Millwall fans there, and it probably is not pleasant. Hopefully they'll do to them what they do to us when we go there, and they'll lock them in for an hour at the end. But yeah, it's not going to be a pleasant experience. I mean, I've seen Millwall in that stand before, and you can put everything you want down the middle of the stand. They just pile through it anyway. So, yeah, for the faint-hearted, I wouldn't get a seat in the half weight for that game. Put it that way. But
absolutely,
yeah, it's going to be a off the pitch. It's going to be a horrendous experience. It always is playing Millwall, sadly.
Yeah, Jill, an opportunity for you to renew some old acquaintances coming down from the den.
I've never made it made it secret. I have a huge affinity with Millwall, but I don't like them. But, I know a few of their ex-players now. I knew them when they played for Millwall. My son used to play golf with John Berylson, God rest his soul, passed away 18 months ago now, the owner of Millwall, my uncle's best friend. He knew Alan Thorne, who was the owner of Millwall back in the 80s, dragged them out the old 4th division all the way up to the 1st with Cascarino, and that lot. So, I like going to the den. It's an intimidating place if you let it. If you go there and act like a big mouth, you'll come back with a cut mouth. But if you go there and just behave yourself, it's all right. And they'll come over and they'll give it, But like you say, Paul said, keep them in for an hour. Wait till we're all home, and then let them out.
Oh, they lock you in there. They put you in a pathway. When you come out of the den now, Joe, they put you in a pathway up to the station, and then they shut both ends, and then you get. I'm not gonna lie, you get things lobbed into you, and yeah, it's the most horrible experience.
It's no different to when we used to go up to Liverpool and Manchester and go towards Lime Street and Brighton. You going through Hove and having fire extinguishers chucked out the trains, and then everything being bricked. It's nothing. That's not unusual. Going up Hudson Avenue, Anfield, and all the coaches being smashed up before they get a chance to turn towards Stanley Park. It's no different to back then when we used to go away.
I think the difference, Joe, is that this is now and that was then. You don't see that at any other club, and I'm with Paul. Millwall now is still a very intimidating place to go. Thank goodness we don't have to play them away. We're playing them at home. And I fear for people that live around there when that lot come out, if they've been kept in for an hour. It's not going to be nice. The police have got a job on their hands. They really have.
So is Cardiff. So is Leeds.
They're similar clubs, but Millwall have a special relationship with us.
Right, so changing the subject, boys. Our away form, okay? Our away form of recent note, okay? 4 last away games, okay? Albeit, and there they are. Thank you, Nigel. Do we have a pattern performing is the question. So last night, away at Doncaster 2-0, West Ham 2-0, Man United, oh, that's brilliant, 2-0, and Leicester City 2-0. Is there a pattern forming here? Is this the way the manager expects us to set up, play, and execute, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Well, we won 2-0 our last 4 away games. So is there a pattern? Yes, there is a pattern. It's a 2-0 pattern, But I wouldn't want to put money on the next away game, but it's Fulham. So, it'd be nice, wouldn't it, if we won that 2-0.
Was Richard Kingdom had 3-1 every game?
Yeah, he did. I wonder if he's got to change that now.
Say it goes 2-0.
We play a solid game away from home, and that's what we're doing. We're keeping it tight and taking chances. We haven't lost an away game since Forest in October. We're on a record run. We're on a record run of clean sheets away from home. The last goal we conceded to a home player was Ross Barkley at Villa, because the only goal we've let in since was an own goal at Brighton. So, as I say, the team are playing in a way that it works away from home as well. I mean, this is the big difference, is what we do at home differently. Teams come to us and sit in, and we've got to break them down, and we don't do that as well. Whereas away from home, teams attack us, leave space, and we exploit it.
But we conceded 2 against Wolves, didn't we? 2-2, and after that, we've only conceded 1 away goal, and that was Mark Galley's own goal.
No, the Wolves game was before Villa, but Villa was 23rd November, Wolves was the 2nd. So we were both 2-2, and as you say, the own goal was the only one since we conceded.
Okay, very quickly, I'm going to cover off the Lone Watch boys. Owen Goodman kept another clean sheet for Wimbledon, who drew 0-0 with Accrington Stanley. Joe Whitworth and Exeter playing Nottingham Forest right now, as you know. Danny Emery played the fullback for Bromley, who won 1 MK MK Dons and got the assist for the only goal. Jesrin Raksaki came off the bench for Sheffield United in the 58th minute, and they won 2-1 at home against Portsmouth and scored the winning goal in the 73rd minute. David Ozo played the first 76 minutes for Derby in a 1-1 draw at Norwich, and Asher Agbanini played 52 minutes for Gillingham, and they lost 3-0 away at Barrow. Okay, upcoming fixtures. Nigel, have you got them, please? There you go. So on Saturday evening, and is that on? Yeah, that's live on Sky. 5:30 kickoff at Selhurst Park against Everton. Following that, the boat trip up the Thames. If you're going to be on that boat, ladies and gentlemen, I will be hosting that boat. Please come and say hello to me. Come and say you saw us on Red and Blue Review. It'd be a pleasure to speak to anybody that actually watches this. Then at home to Villa. Then we've got the Millwall date down as the 1st of March at the moment, but that date is to be confirmed. Home to Ipswich and away at Southampton. Now, boys, I think there's some points available out of that little batch there, didn't you?
Yeah, just a few, hopefully.
Any predictions? So let's start off with this week's game. Home to Everton. Joe.
Well, I'm just going to go 13 points out of 15 for that lot there.
13 points.
I'll have a pint of whatever you're drinking.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, we'll put the games back up. Put the games back up, Nige, and I'll tell you. Right, so I think we'll beat Everton. I think we'll draw against Fulham. I think we'll beat Villa. We'll do Millwall, obviously. We'll beat Ipswich, and we'll beat Southampton. If we lose to Southampton, we'll be one of the only teams that's lost there in. I mean, there's only 4 teams that have lost there in their 2 stints in the Premier League. So, tell me there's not a chance of a minimum of 30. If we can, if we beat Fulham.
I'm only pulling your leg. You're not wrong. Whether it's 10, 11, 13 points, it's a good haul of points, and we need to, because after that run,
that season's safe. I'm telling you.
The fixtures turn again after that a little bit, so they get a bit tougher. So we're expected to win some of those games. Villa won't be easy, but they don't travel too well. They haven't got a defence at the moment. Fulham, they're tough not to crack, but you're saying a draw for that one. I think Saturday's a big game. Saturday's important. Everton are in good form at the moment. Obviously they've got to play tomorrow night against Liverpool in the Merseyside derby. That's a big game for them. We'll be focusing on that at the moment. Then on the back of that, 3 days later, they come down to our place, and they've done really well in the league. So they will sit back, expect us to break them down, as Paul said, and that's where we're going to have to find a way. And I think if it wasn't for Adam Warton, I'll be a bit worried about Saturday. But I think with Adam Warton playing in the middle of the park, we've got every chance of beating them.
Is Eze still long-term injured?
No. Eze will play. Yeah, he'll play. He was just rested. He's got a knock. But he said he needs to give him a rest, and hopefully he will be fit enough to play.
Eze, Hughes and Warton is miles too good for that midfield. For their midfield.
The other player that was missing yesterday, which no one's mentioned really, is Ismail Assar. I think it was just rested. I don't think he's injured or anything. I think he was just rested.
He was sick.
Birthday, they gave him a day off.
Right, okay. And Jill, just pick it up on the point you just mentioned. We need those 15, 13 points to be safe. Jill, we're already safe. There ain't no way 3 out of those bottom 4 clubs are going to get up to 30 points, okay? We're already on 30 points. It's not going to happen in a million years. If we lost every game between now and the end of this season, I'll be amazed if we went down.
We went down on 49 points, mate. Behave yourself.
Yeah, all right. And when last did the team go down on 49 points? Years ago. Boys, I think we're going to wrap it up, if that's okay with you. Have I missed anything, Nige? You're in the background. I can't remember. Oh, look. Oh, yes. For those that you don't know, a little bit of work has already commenced at Selhurst Park to do with the new stand. Whether they're taking down the prefabs, I don't know whether the players are going to change, or the away team are going to change, if that's the case. But it looks as though some groundworks have started at Selhurst Park. Good news. Just more equipment for Millwall when they come down, really, isn't it? Anything else that I've missed, Nige? Maybe I should have said that. That's all wrong.
Where are you hiding? Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Ernie Wally left us this week. Long associated with the club. Rest in peace, Ernie, from everybody on Red and Blue Review. Okay, guys, I am going to wrap it up there. Thank you for Ian and Paul. I know you're knackered. Well done for yesterday. Every one of you that travelled yesterday, congratulations. We'll be back Sunday the 16th to review the Everton game at 8 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, Gel, thank you for joining us as always, mate.
No worries. Thanks very much, everyone.
You stepped in as a late replacement. I know you did, and I'm grateful for that. Nigel in the background, thank you very much. Tom Clark, Samuel, for all your work. On behalf of myself, Nick Philpott, and his fabulous team, I wish you a safe week, everybody. Speak to you next week. Take care. Good night, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Good effort on a school night.
Yeah, absolutely.